Welcome to the second episode of Bourbon Biskets. Who knew this was going to take so much time? I thought that I was going to be able to do this relatively easily, but wow, it's very time consuming and I don't have the software or the skills at the moment to be able to put them all together in a way that doesn't take me days and days. Well, that's particularly the case for those recordings that I do with other people. I haven't mastered that. So my friends very kindly did one with me the other night, but the audio is just a mess. And so I'm going to have to leave it for a bit. Mainly because I spent all morning yesterday on it and I got through 6 minutes, which isn't efficient. It's not the way I want to work. So onward. I'm going back to Alex's question that I mentioned in the first podcast. So this is actually the second time I've attempted to record this podcast. The first one, the wind interrupted, and as much as I love sitting outside to do this because that's what I enjoy, I've come inside to record this one. It was just a mess, the first attempt. So back to Alex's question. He said, what are your thoughts on PUAs, pickup artists? What caused their rise in popularity and popularity? Would you date one? Good question. I will admit that I did have to go and look it up. Look, on the surface, yeah, of course, a pickup artist. Who doesn't know what a pickup artist is? But for the purposes of this discussion, it needed a bit more explanation. I'm familiar with them in respect to the MGTOW community. I don't know whether people who are participants in the pickup community also see themselves as being part of the MGTOW community. For those of you not familiar with that term, that stands for men going their own way. And it feels like there is a malevolent aspect to both the movements, that there are outliers who experience negative behaviours when engaging in the community, such as the goal and desire to trick women or to publicly shame them or to take advantage of them in some way as a societal payback for how those men feel who've been destroyed by women. And I'm not sure, Alex, whether you want me to talk about that or not. We probably need a little bit more context. As you know, for those of you who are part of my little community, I believe in biological foundations to human behavior, and dating is, the relationship between men and women is so fundamental to that. So my first thought was, if you needed to be a part of a community to pick women up, then there was something amiss with your biological prowess, because it shouldn't be that hard. And I know I'm oversimplifying it, but I don't mean just for men, I mean for women as well. We've got to this point in our social structure where it's very, very difficult to form meaningful relationships with other humans. And I think that this movement is a byproduct of that difficulty, but I don't know that it's a solution to that difficulty. So let's go to trusty Wikipedia. And Wikipedia, yes, I will donate. Just give me a couple of days, okay? Pickup artist PUA, also known as Pickup Artists, Seduction Community, or Pickup Community, is a movement of men whose goal is seduction and sexual success with and access to women. So let me just say as a first comment, whoever wrote that sentence as your topic sentence for your Wikipedia page, that doesn't make sense. It's not structured properly. It doesn't. I think what you're trying to say is that it's a movement of men whose goal is seduction through sexual success. And even then, I'm not even sure that that's right. Because sexual success, by my definition, is procreation. So I think it's a bit of an ambiguous term. And with and access to women as a sequence of words doesn't make sense. Anyway. Members of the community are often referred to as pickup artists, PUA. Yes, you just said that. You're not giving me a lot of hope here, people. The community exists through internet newsletters and weblogs, marketing, for example, banner ads, seminars, one-on-one coaching. There you go. Forums and groups, as well as over 100 local clubs known as lairs. The rise of seduction science, in quotes, game, in quotes, or study charisma, in quotes, as it is often called, has been attributed to, in quotes, chaotic modern dating scene reportedly as a result of the increased empowerment and equality of women in Western society and changes to traditional gender roles combined with the influence of distinct biological... Hold on. So that was the God Squad at the door, and unlike other atheists, when the God Squad comes to my door, usually, Paul would invite them in and practice his epistemology on them. So they were looking for him. Anyway, so where was I? I was reading you the definition. Okay. Commentators in the media have described game as sexist or misogynistic. Some people have acknowledged that the techniques espoused do sometimes succeed in attracting women. Well, you know, duh. It's not actually rocket science. So, of course, you know, men and women have mating practices. And for fuck's sake, I wish that humans as a whole would start to see themselves as animals instead of seeing themselves as somehow separate to nature. We're not. And just because we have built bigger beaver dams and, you know, have this unending biological need to understand, build, create and build, well, men do, you know, the reason why it's all broken down is because, I don't know whether I can say that or not. I do have to be very careful here because I forget that people believe things that are so different to what I believe. I keep on forgetting because I don't really have them in my life. Like, I don't have far left people in my life. It doesn't exist here in Australia like it does in America, with the exception of the media. And the reason why that's the case, and also now politics, because politics responds to the media because that's the only thing they know how to do. They only know how to follow. They don't know how to lead. And so I just don't come across them. So I have to keep reminding myself that people don't think the way that I do. There are large culture-wide problems in the societal narrative around men and women, and that is a conversation for another day because it will go on forever. I want to stay on the topic of specifically pickup artists. So let's get back to it. The first question I'd be asking is, why are the guys who are becoming part of the pickup community or becoming a pickup artist, why are they doing it? And I suspect it's because they haven't had success with women, right? You'd only want to be taught something, or you'd only pay to be taught something if you had a desire to be better at it. Unless, of course, you're simply responding to the powers of marketing and advertising, which most people do. So if men are in communities where the advertising is taking place, they're more likely to participate in that community. So if they're willingly, on some level, participating in this community because of their own situation, I don't see that men who are in relationships would be participating in this community. It's going to be for single men. And unless, of course, you're a philanderer, and that's a whole other conversation for another day. Is their goal then to go from this incel, involuntary celibate state to having sex? And if that's the goal, go for it. If they can teach you something that's going to get you into bed with a woman when you otherwise haven't, good for you. If you then turn around and say to her the next morning, oh, I tricked you to do that, be prepared for the fallout. Be prepared for the backlash. Because I don't think you'd have to do it too many times. I don't think you'd have to wake up the next morning, or when you sneak off in the middle of the night and send her a text the next day, whatever it is, because I'm pretty sure they would say not to sleep the night, to leave, or make her leave, whatever. I think once you'd let the girl know that she had been a victim of your pickup artistry, I don't imagine that it would be a very pleasant experience to get the wrath of a woman back. So maybe you do it a couple of times, or maybe you're just telling your mates that you're scamming these women, if that's what your goal is, to scam them as opposed to develop a meaningful relationship with them. I don't know how fulfilling that could be over time, over your experience of life. Most humans, men and women, want meaningful, intimate relationships with other humans. We are herding animals. We are tribal. We exist in herds. We're not solitary beings. And when we are solitary beings, there are costs of that, physical and emotional costs of solitary life. So, you're kind of creating an upward battle for yourself in your life if this is the conscious path that you've taken in order to interact with members of the opposite sex. And then I think about how it's been presented in Hollywood. I can't remember. Is it Will Smith was Hitch or something, and he was like this relationship guru or something. And then he ended up just falling in love with the chick who rebuked his methods. Isn't that the story? I could be wrong about that. But, there you go. What is it that you ultimately want? I don't think that men are joining these communities because they want to trick women into having sex with them. I think they're joining these communities because they don't have any male role models, and they don't have any masculine influence in their life, and because they don't have any self-confidence, and because they don't have any friends, and they don't have any social interactions that give them serotonin release. That's why I think that they join these communities, just like the Proud Boys. And it's interesting to me how quickly these movements get demonized in the press. And I'm sure there are valid reasons for it in some cases I don't know enough about it to be able to make any claim there. But I do find it interesting that large groups of young men, let's just use the Proud Boys as an example. I know it's a little bit off topic, but what motivation does anyone who's currently in control have to allow a large group of men to be able to mobilize in large numbers across the Western world? What leader would want that? Interesting thought, hey? I think about these things a lot, about how peaceful revolution can take place. And it would be through something like that. It would be through the ability to mobilize large groups of people for a common cause. But, you know, I live in a different reality. I live in a reality where harmony across all levels of our existence is possible. But that's, you know, a topic for another day, I guess. Back to it. Back to your question, Alex. Would I date one? Look, I'm gullible because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm a naturally trusting person, but because I'm in my 40s and because of my life experience, I have the ability to identify a pretender, but not necessarily straight away. So, you know, if he was really good at it, I'd probably feel flattered. But compliments from strangers, they've got no real weighting. And if a pickup artist attempted one of their tactics with me, which is called negging, let me read you that bit. Negging. Negging, one of von Markovich's most famous and controversial techniques, has been described as the practice of giving a woman a backhanded compliment, such as, "Nice nails, are they real?" to weaken her confidence and therefore render her more vulnerable to seduction, or that depriving a woman of validation and attention will influence her to seek it from the man who negs her. And look, you know, I think that's probably a human condition that exists in men and women, the propensity to seek it out if you don't have it. But the practice of it, the conscious practice of backhanded compliments, are right up there for me on the "you're an asshole" category. We say arsehole in Australia as opposed to asshole. Anyway, backhanded compliments are poison, and my mother used them for my entire life, and I'm very, very acutely aware of when people are doing it. And I don't like it. I think it's malevolent, and I think that you will reap what you sow if you use it as a tactic to interact with another human. It will come back to bite you on the ass, whatever you prefer. I don't think that it is a strategy that will result in long-term success. So, you know, by all means, give it a go. But if you want to experience the backfire effect in real time from someone that you're attempting to have a intimate experience with, which is what sex is, so you're demeaning them and you're diminishing them, but you also want to engage in the most intimate behavior between two people, I think there might be something wrong with you psychologically. And people might not like to hear that, but that's just my thought. This one here, pawning, is treating or discarding an unwanted woman as proof of the PUA's own social value, and going caveman is escalating physical contact while reducing verbal contact. Look, those are completely different processes, so why you include them in the same sentence is beyond me. The second one, escalating physical contact while reducing verbal contact, that's just the process of having sex with someone, so don't take claim to owning that. Pawning, trading or discarding an unwanted woman as proof of the PO's social value. The thing about that is that that's been going on since the dawning of time. There are lots of societies who, like it says that it's like an unwanted woman, but it's worked in different ways. There are cultures where if a man dies, his wife marries his brother because it was the husband's duty to look after her. And so if he goes and kills himself through hunting or having an accident or whatever, the family goes, hold on a minute, she shouldn't be left destitute. She will marry his brother. And in those societies, that's the case whether he's got a wife or not, in an attempt to ensure that the family unit is always maintained. So you can spin it any way you like, and you can make a statement that the woman is unwanted, but really, is she unwanted? You're the one who wants to have sex with her. So if you want to have sex with her, then she's wanted. And if you've had sex with her and you're still in contact with her, even though you no longer want to have sex with her, and you're maintaining contact with her for the pure purposes of parading her in front of your mates as someone that you no longer want to have sex with, then you're just a dick. And the thing that will change all this is when men realize that when they behave like gentlemen and that women behave like ladies, where we respect and honor and treat each other with kindness, that's when things will change. But unfortunately, too much damage has been done on both sides for the time being. We have to address that first. Anyway, I don't really want to look at any more of the tactics. Do it if you want to. Do it if you think it's beneficial to you as an individual. But I don't think it will ever be a strategy for long-term enjoyment. So I wouldn't date one knowingly. Throw me a backhand compliment and watch me retaliate. And if you already have the charisma, you shouldn't need the tactics. And if you don't have the charisma, by all means learn. But do so for the benefit of your social interaction with other people, because you need it. You need that social interaction. And if you keep on sabotaging it through nefarious and malevolent tactics, then you're going to end up alone. So it's up to you. Treat other people the way you would like to be treated if you were behaving as your best self. That's all I'd say about it. I hope that answers your question, Alex. I'm looking forward to answering some more. I've got some news that's coming up, but I just want to get all my ducks in a row first. I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch because, true story, true story, I was counting on a deal eventuating a couple of months ago, and I was so certain that it was going to happen that I counted my chickens, so to speak. And I was out working with the horses the day I was just working out with the horses on the day that I usually do, which is a Monday. And we were stopped by the side of the road by a couple who got out of their truck and asked us if we had seen a dog on the loose, like a husky. And we said we hadn't. And they said, this husky has just come and killed all their chickens. And we were like, oh no, that's terrible. Anyway, we kept on feeding the horses, and by the time we got back to the farm where I work, the stray dog had attacked all of the chickens on the farm and killed them all. And I had to go around and count how many dead chickens there were. And he killed them all. There were 7. And when I got home that day, after that very traumatic experience, the deal fell apart. Obviously, those 2 events had nothing to do with each other, but on the day that I was counting my chickens about the deal coming together is the day that I found out that it wasn't going to happen, and I physically counted dead chickens. Wow, what a I don't even know what to call that. What is that? It's not an allegory, it's I don't know. If you can tell me what I could call that story where I'm counting dead chickens because I counted my chickens when I shouldn't have, I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I look forward to sharing my exciting news with you soon. It's a game changer. Well, I hope it will be, but as I'm not counting my chickens, only time will tell. Until then, my friends, as always, we are all red on the inside.